Alright, hello ladies and gentlemen, Shikatashi here with another mod video for you. And I think maybe last month, uh, someone was complaining about the green glowing on pickup items, and he wanted like an outline effect. So what
If
I have
ever
for you
something
today,
was
if this guy
just
will
pure
shut up,
wrong, it's this.
is an outline effect. As you can see that we actually have the outline on this box right here. It's not, the box itself isn't glowing, but we actually have like the outline glowing. And we run behind the building. When this works properly, if we look at it from like different angles, it's an actual outline effect. But what this actually is, it's not a post-processing effect. This is actually two material files. So what's actually going on is that these are two models, two meshes that are exact same, sitting right on top of each other. One of them is a glowing material, and one of them is the original, visual material. And what's actually happening here, if I pull this in, and of course credit to where it's due, Dark Carnivore on the Epic Games forums actually figured this out. He joined this year, and I'm glad he figured this out, because I know in Unreal Engine 4 you can do this really easily, but in Unreal Engine 3 it's a bit of a loophole. So he figured this out. He didn't really post the guide. He kind of just shared his material right here and gave a couple like instructions of what you need to turn on and stuff. But other than that, not much help. But this was enough to figure out. So thank you very much, Dark Carnivore. But what we actually have here is that I have a new material file. If I open this up, we can see that I basically copied everything he had. So we have an emissive and an opacity. The emissive is the color, and he has it set up to pulse, and then the opacity is what basically sets it up to only create the outline. So we have all these variables. If subtract a parameter, I think it has a 6. His is on 3. Doesn't really seem to affect a whole lot. And then going through all this list, it's pretty much about it. Now, a couple things that he does mention in this text is that pixel depth has to have normalize on. Every single scene depth has to have a normalize on, and screen positioning has to have screen alignment on. And I think that's pretty much about it. And when you look at these ones right here, make sure that what has negative has a negative here. And other than that, it should have been straightforward. But what I missed was your first material is the original material. This material is a translucent material, and I didn't really understand that at first. And then I remember that this thing right here, the material itself, has its own modifier. So if you click on this and look down here, and we open up this material tab, we see blend mode, translucent. Now by default, this is on opaque, and we see that it's just like a normal glowing, like any other like glowing effect in the game. But we don't want that. We want this to translucent. I don't really understand how that works around, but it just kind of does. So once that's made, we apply it to a custom of mesh. So this is a skeletal mesh. I imagine it'll work. No, this is a static mesh. I imagine it'll work with a skeletal mesh. Well, if we look right here, we see that elements. We actually have two materials. Now, naturally, there's only one, but as I said before, this is two models sitting on top of each other. So if I were to open up 3ds Max, and of course, if you're figuring out how to edit the mesh itself, what you want to do, if I close this, you want to right click on the static mesh or skeletal mesh, right click and click save. And then once that's saved, you can right click it again, and then you should be allowed to export to file. And then you just export anywhere, and it'll be saved in the OBJ format. And you throw that into your model editing editor. Like for me, it's 3ds Max. And if I were to bring this, and we can see that I just named it box just because, but this is already an edited file. But when you get yours, you'll throw it into your editor. Give this a moment to load. I'm gonna place that there, fix the position, and then need to zoom out. Whoa, hold up. Okay, so we have these two right here. It looks like one, but it's actually two. So these are perfectly identical. You just take this and you make a clone of it. And what you want to do is press M. That's if you're in 3ds Max. In your relative 3D editor, just figure out what it is. And then what you want to do is make two materials, DirectX materials. I'm gonna make another one. And then I don't need these extensions. I only care about these. What I'm gonna do is select the first one, and I'm gonna assign the first material. I get the second one, and then assign the second material. So now these two are two different materials. I want to keep them stacked on each other perfectly. And then what you want to do is export into an FBX file. For 3ds Max, you have to go through a couple settings. Like right here, I just showed you. Just click on Max, export, export game folder. Smoothing groups have to be exported as well. Yeah, you'll have to figure this out for your own editor. But one thing I should mention is that when you export, the sizes are different. So when you export 3ds Max, it's going to be 3 times larger than the original file. You have to go and set that up to fix it. I reinstalled this, so I don't have it set up at the moment. But you can look up guides to how to set up 3ds Max for UDK scaling, and then that should help you get it set up. A little bit confusing, you might have some trouble with it, but just try it. If your FBX file doesn't work, make sure you have like advanced settings and set your format to 2015 or older and export that. Anything newer than 2016 will not be registered in the account for SDK. So once you have this exported, two different materials, two separate meshes, you come back into the SDK, you right click it and re-import static mesh, and then you're going to select that new FBX file that you made for it. And then once you have that, you'll get a second material option, and then you're going to assign that new material file that you made. And then congratulations, you now have outline effects. So I'll probably go apply this. I don't remember who you were, but the guys that were thinking that the green glowing effect, which I think this one does, just doesn't sit well with the game. I don't know how I feel about the glowing effect either. It's also very bright, but it's an option. At least we got outlines to work. So that's how you do outlines in Unreal Engine 3 UDK. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll catch you in the next one. Have a good day.